you're probably waiting for this. The
I am
three
waiting.
main KPIs are sales, profit, and cash.
Cash.
Okay, sales, profit,
you
and
can have all the
cash.
other and no money to pay.
Right.
Yes.
So the
See, I'm
the
still
two
being
reports, the two reports are the balance sheet and the profit and loss, which will tell you the story of sales, profits, and cash. Like that's the game right there. So when you start to figure out it's not this infinite course of study, but it's fairly simple, then it gets a little easier to grasp and get excited about. So what also will happen is you go to Home Service Freedom, you go to the Pantheon convention. These are amazing opportunities, and you talk to the big guys, and they're talking about their KPIs. And they'll talk about gross profit and gross margin. Gross profit is sales minus cost of goods sold expressed as a dollar, and expressed as a percentage, it's called gross margin. Sales minus cost of goods sold. Very important number. Like you said, if we don't have enough money at that point, we're not going to have enough money to create any kind of profit. Yeah. Right. So those are the important ones. But here's the rub. Rarely is the cost of goods sold section on a contractor's chart of accounts the same as the guy he's talking to. So now we have apples to oranges, and they're talking about gross profit, gross margin, and it's a worthless conversation unless you can determine
apples and oranges.
Yeah,
yes,
and so
okay.
that's one of my obsessions lately is let's get real about what we're going to call that cost of goods sold. I know that sounds nerdy to get so excited about that, but like that's become my life's work right now. Could we make that simple? Could we create some basic patterns so that when you're talking to other cool guys at Home Service Freedom or at Pantheon, you have some basis of understanding?
I want to go back to talking about success. Because we have this myth that we have to be brilliant to be. And when I came home the first year after doing consulting, I had left my family business. My brother Richie and my brother Marty and my dad said to me, "What'd you learn? What'd you learn?" And I said, "I learned that there are people way smarter than we will ever be on our best day." But they were not the most successful. Mm-mm. And the reason they were not is because they kept going, well, could you do this? Well, could you do this? And in your case is, I see all these rows on the Excel sheet. Can I make H-I-G-K, these 4 columns here? And all of a sudden, you're drifting outside of the norm. And the same thing with me and the manuals and the org charts and the things that we would do and planning and getting it set up. Well, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do that? I go, we can, but you want to get rolling. So I would say the people that were most successful, if you're allowed to have a very wide brush here, what do you want me to do? Because that's what I'm going to do right now. Mm-hmm. And when you come home from those events, and for those who are in Home Service Freedom, I'm allowed to plug, right? Home Service Freedom, there's a signature planning system now, which is Planning Power, where they can take all the great ideas that they heard, 1 million great ideas, put it at the top of the master project list and let it marinate its way down to the top 30, top 5. And for you, the same thing. One of the things that you and I worked with new clients was that you needed to get them to know, if I come on board, we're going to do it this way, and your CPA has got to be able to work with me or we're not getting together. And it sounds rougher than it is. I know I'm going fast. But it was the best thing that Ellen did by taking the control early, in my opinion, because otherwise they were just going to blow themselves up on the launching pad.
Well, let's talk about who you're going to need to help you figure out your financial situation.
Yeah.
All right, so you do need a good CPA or tax accountant. Doesn't even have to be a CPA, but someone who can do taxes for you. And that person is going to keep you out of the pokey.
Yes, good.
All right, so keep you out of the pokey. And also have some kind of tax strategy. You don't need to pay more than your fair share.
Yeah, and also delay legitimately taxes that have to be paid.
Right,
Yep,
like have a tax
things.
strategy. That's what we need a CPA for. But that CPA is not going to be generally a good accountant or a bookkeeper. So an accountant is someone who can assemble the financial reports and then fix them if they're wrong. And if I were a betting man, and I am, I would bet 100% of the time at every set of books I look at that there's something wrong with them, because it's like the back of the truck. It's going to get messy. Even if you're really good at putting things in the right places, there's probably something out of place. Usually inventory's wrong. Payroll has often got some weirdness to it. So there's going to be a couple places where you have to go and find and fix stuff. And a CPA is not your person for that.
No.
So a really good bookkeeper / accountant, someone who understands debits and credits, who can fix it and verify, okay, this number's wrong. We know it's wrong. It says this, but it should be this. So we have to fix it. That person might be at your company right now, and with a good system and with some help, could become a B+ to A+ player.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I really like all of it's a great point, but this is so good because it also branches off into a term that I had never heard till I met you. And that I didn't know there was a difference between real world accounting of how you run your business versus tax accounting. I didn't know there were two types. So can you spend a minute?
Well, that
explaining
kind
the
of
difference?
sounds like two sets of books, which is wrong.
No, yes. And also that will put you in the
Illegal.
pokey.
That'll put you in the
That'll put you in
pokey.
the pokey unless you look good in orange or
Right.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, and I think what I'm hearing is that there are certain rules about accounting.
Yes.
And you've probably heard of GAAP principles, generally accepted accounting principles. That's what GAAP stands for. And if you're going to go public, if you're going to sell your company to PE, you want to know what those rules are. That's going to be important. But within those rules, there's some flexibility, right? So one accountant might have an idea for your chart of accounts, but that chart of accounts may not play out very nicely for your contracting business. So real world accounting would be, oh, this is so good. What if with our org chart, you figured out the different departments at your company and you lined up your chart of accounts to reflect that? So if you have an install department, wouldn't it be great to know what the sales and cost of goods sold are for the install department versus the service department?
Running your company on percentages, I think, is so
Dollars
critical.
and percentages, so critical. But that pattern of small job, big job per trade allows you then to hold the managers of those departments accountable.
Two objective things.
To objective things.
Who knew?
You could play a game.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be fun?
A game.
Yeah, and you could reward
Ellen,
them
and
on
for
good
those
performance.
those of you who are following, Ellen loves the magic word, game.
And fun.
And fun.
And
Sorry,
fun.
two
I
words.
do like those words. But what then if you do, and this is another thing I'm seeing a lot of these days. We have big companies growing.
Oh, yeah.
And the managers of these departments are sales dogs. They're good at sales. They are growing like gangbusters. They're getting into great sales training. They're good customer service. Boom, boom, boom. For the most part, these managers are playing offense, but no defense. So offense is sales, and defense are expenses, cost of goods sold expenses, labor, material, and subs. That's what they deal with every day. That's what's happening right here.
Do callbacks count?
The callbacks count. Callbacks are like getting sacked.
Yeah.
All right,
exactly.
you just got sacked. It's not the worst thing, but you've got to recover. You
And
got to
learn-
mitigate.
Yeah, you got to learn it, or are you going to be playing defense forever instead of offense?
Right. But
There-
offense and defense, your team will
Yeah.
play. If you gamify the defense as well as the offense, you're going to bring those numbers into the gross margin, gross profit line, and then you're really winning. This is where a company not only is going to grow that top line, but that will reflect in the bottom line. So good.
I think, Ellen helped me crystallize this years ago. I'm not even sure if it was in the book, but real world accounting was driving by looking out the front windshield. And what we were doing was waiting for the accounting numbers to come, which is like driving your car by looking through your rear view mirror. And when she said it that way, it was like, wow. Didn't realize that.
Well, the point of that is to get current. Like, suppose we only look at, and this is a common issue. I'll say, okay, when's the last month you closed? Well, it was like 3 months ago. So whatever scorecard we're looking at is months away from what's happening right now. Well, how fast could we get the numbers? I recommend you get weekly numbers, balance sheet and profit and loss, updated pretty darn good once a week. Now, we can't do that because payroll is too complicated. Well, Then we could put a project on the project list to simplify payroll. Like I bet you
love a
could get
project
it.
list.
You bet you could get it faster. I mean, there's huge companies out there that
Oh,
get
yeah.
weekly financials, right?
Yes.
Publicly held companies.
Yeah.
You can do it. So what it will do is cause you to up your standards, clean up the sticky points, streamline the systems, get rid of stuff that doesn't matter so that you can get good information on a weekly basis. Because then, wouldn't it be cool if, like a game, while the game was on, you could adjust based on the score?
You know, I love budgeting, as I told you. Is it okay if I have 250 chart of account?
No.
No.
No,
So
it's
tell
not
us why
okay.
that's wrong.
Well, so there's all these accounts. Well, and this is, I love Service Titan. I work at Service Titan. There's places you can go for additional information. You don't need all the information on your balance sheet and your profit and loss. You want the flags to go up. You want those KPIs to be obvious. So if something looks out of whack, you go, oh, well, let's talk to somebody. Let's dig into those numbers. Let's make sure it's right. So really, the balance sheet and the profit and loss should be pretty streamlined and elegant, knowing that you can go get tons more information by drilling into the transaction report or going over to Service Titan and looking at the task report or how many memberships we sold. You don't need every detail on the profit and loss. So this is going to be a plug for Service Titan. All right, so if you're using a really powerful CRM like Service Titan, you're going to have all of this information. So you only really need to bring the lumpy information over to your accounting system. We don't need to recreate every transaction over in QuickBooks or in Intact, whatever you're using for your accounting system. The problem is most accounting people don't know anything about their CRM, are scared to death of digging into Service Titan. So they want all the information over in their accounting program. My encouragement is you start to look at this as a whole, that together your CRM and your accounting system are one unit.